DeKalb, Illinois, a small Midwestern college town surrounded by corn for as far as the eye can see. If asked, most residents would say DeKalb is a quiet and sleepy town. In fact, many would say that the town is outright boring. They don't know. They can't understand. The truth is that when the sun sets on the cornfields and the moon is covered by clouds, the college students come out to play. But they're not alone. Of all places, DeKalb and the surrounding areas are rich with tales of supernatural phenomena. From the curiously empty Twombly house, whose secrets have long been pondered, to the mysterious robed figure seen roaming Bloods Point Cemetery. From tales of strange suicides and hangings outside of DeKalb, to the pounding hooves of spectral horses in a mysterious house between DeKalb and Waterman. From stories of mysterious gateways and ghost dogs, to spirits and Satanists frequently spotted at local cemeteries. DeKalb has been plagued with sightings of spirits and unexplainable happenings. Tonight, we will investigate these areas and take you on a journey, a pilgrimage, if you will, to the mystical places in DeKalb and the surrounding areas. We are merely telling you the stories as we know them. Whether they are true or just wild fever dreams is not known to us. As you watch this, you will be forced to ask yourself if you can truly discount these stories. It's easy to scoff at these seemingly fantastic accounts, but don't be so sure that they are pure fantasy. In the early hours of the morning, after the reveling students have gone home, and we are still hours away from seeing the sun, mysterious things happen in DeKalb. Spirits tread the earth in eternal torment. Or so the story goes. Welcome to So the Story Goes, coming to you from the Northern Television Center. Tonight, we will be exploring DeKalb's supernatural community. Our first stop this evening is in northern DeKalb County on the edge of Boone County at Bloods Point Cemetery. Producer Stuart Wallin is joined by Dan McGee.
Bloods Point Cemetery near Poole and Wheeler Roads has several stories surrounding it.
I'm standing here in Bloods Point Cemetery with Dan McGee, and Dan McGee has done quite a bit of research. Why don't you tell us a little bit about the research you've done here in the area?
Well, throughout teenage lore, you always hear about the evil that goes on at Bloods Point Cemetery, such as the black car that will try to push up the road here when you're driving on it at night. There's supposed to be a black robed figure that sits on one of these gravestones and has satanic ceremonies here. People have seen apparitions floating across the cemetery, basic ghost stuff.
And some of your studying has been published.
Yeah, in the Rock Valley newspaper, the Valley Forge.
Okay, I want you to show us around a little bit, show us some of these little sites of interest.
Okay.
Even the area around the cemetery tells tales of witches and satanic rituals. But so the story goes.
Our second stop tonight is out on Elva Road, an eerie house that seems to be haunted by the spirits of horses. Producer Joe Segan has that story.
This house stands on the corner of Elva and Waterman Roads on the outskirts of DeKalb County. Beneath the years of shrubbery overgrowth lies a deserted structure shrouded in mystery. According to some sources, the last couple that lived here met an unusual demise. Although the circumstances will remain unknown, the man is said to have had his wife drawn and quartered and then killed himself. The producers of this documentary wish to make it clear that this property is a no trespassing area and that no one should attempt to enter the old Elva house. But sources say that if people stand in the remains of the house at night, that stampeding horses can still be heard. or so the story goes.
The Elmwood Cemetery, located in Sycamore, is no stranger to supernatural occurrences. Rumors abound from many, many years back. Today, Chris Strebel takes us on a tour.
Sycamore's elegant Elmwood Cemetery is another location shrouded with mystery. Local legend tells of an aged caretaker who wanders through the cemetery at night with his dog. While this may not seem like an unusual occurrence, residents in the surrounding neighborhood claim to have seen this caretaker walk through the tombstones as if they weren't there. One resident tried to capture the faintly glowing apparition on film, but when the film was developed, the only visible images were the monuments. The caretaker was nowhere to be seen. Another tale commonly told of the cemetery involves a statue of a woman atop of one of the monuments. Some observers have claimed to see the statue of the mourning woman weep as if for a lover long since forgotten. Or so the story goes.
DeKalb's Wurlitzer plant, once home to the Notre Dame School for Girls, is another source of many intriguing tales. Producer Joe Segan tells us about it.
The Wurlitzer factory on Gerler Road in DeKalb also has rumors of mystery surrounding it. Although no longer used in the production of instruments, the building now serves as a warehouse for the company. Built on the grounds of the old Notre Dame School, the land is said to be watched over by the ghost of a former nun. The child of this nun, whose father was a priest, was supposedly aborted and the body buried on the grounds. Anyone who steps foot on these grounds at night is warded off by the nun herself. The warehouse has not been able to hire guards fast enough due to the strange occurrences that caused the watchmen to quit. Another story behind this old school and the warehouse deals with the guards hearing splashing and laughter in a now empty pool that a young girl drowned in years ago, or so the story goes.
Located just steps away from the tower's dormitories at NIU is a cryptic portal said to be a gateway into our world. Here's my report. Located deep within NIU's West Lagoon is a structure that is said to be a gateway to someplace else. No one is certain where this gateway leads or why it is positioned here, but one thing is certain: it is a spot of powerful energy, mystical or otherwise. One NIU student told us of an experience she had where she approached the structure and the stars in the sky began to blur and look like a time-lapse photo. The air became thick and she found it difficult to breathe. She became dizzy and disoriented, and took her several minutes to regain her composure before leaving the area. This entire incident happened while she was completely sober. Several residents of the nearby Stevenson South dormitories claim to have seen a coven of witches holding a black mass at this particular spot. One evening, as they were walking through the lagoon, they heard the droning, monotone sound of several people chanting softly. As they approached, they saw 13 robed figures in a circle around the structure. In addition, common occult lore tells us that anything near a gateway to hell must die. The trees around this structure are mysteriously dead, whereas the surrounding trees further out are alive and well. This could be mere coincidence, but many students think it's something far more sinister. Or so the story goes.
We're here on Pearl Street near DeKalb's lovely downtown area. And here we have a railroad trestle. It's said that years ago a man hung himself from this trestle here, and it's said that on certain nights you can again see a shadowy figure dangling from a noose under this bridge, or so the story goes.
The next stop on our journey tonight is another grisly hanging, this one in Sycamore. We'd like to remind the viewers that this is private property and there is no trespassing. In this particular case, do not let your curiosity be your guide.
Turning to the Sycamore area, legends surrounding this site have arisen over the years. A house once stood atop this hill in the shadow of this hangman's tree. Supposedly, the strange events began when a man who lived here murdered his own brother by hanging him in this very tree. In the 10 years that followed, 3 different families each occupied the house that hosted this grisly murder. In those 10 years, 8 occupants of the house committed suicide. Strangely enough, one of the suicides occurred here, in a small cemetery plot hidden deep in the heart of a cornfield. It is rumored that witches or Satanists are responsible for the desecration of this plot. And while the house and many of the gravestones have fallen, the hangman's tree still looms over the property as a reminder of its bizarre history, or so the story goes.
Optical illusion or supernatural phenomenon? That's what we ask you to decide. Waterman's North Clinton Cemetery is home to a mysterious floating eye. Here's the story.
North Clinton Cemetery in Waterman, just south of DeKalb, is the home of a most interesting phenomenon. At night, passers-by can see a small white eye on the head of this tombstone. Skeptics say the eye that watches cars drive by is merely the reflection of headlights. However, if you were to stop your car here and turn off your headlights, the eye will still be watching you, or so the story goes.
Here I am in the Fairview Cemetery, where a so-called rumor has it that when you sit upon a certain bench here in the cemetery, a certain feeling of coldness will suddenly rush upon your body, or even a feeling of dread. So the story goes.
What happens when we die? Do we walk the earth? Well, this story tells us of a dog killed by a car who still is roaming the earth at Liberty Park. Here's producer Joe Segan.
In this quiet neighborhood where children play without a care in the world, evil lurks. This is the home of DeKalb's ghost dog, who is supposedly hit by a car and still haunts the area around here. As you can see, the DeKalb Park District has even put up a warning to pet owners. Here in Liberty Park, a quaint playground on the corner of Lewis and 11th Streets, stories run rampant about a ghost dog who roams the park at night. Several sources report that certain nights, a white dog appears and runs towards observers, lunges at them only to disappear again into the night, or so the story goes.
Our final tale this evening tells of a home on the outskirts of DeKalb, mysteriously abandoned many years ago. The producers would like to again remind you that this is a no trespassing area. Please stay off the property. Here's the story.
Twombly Road is about half a mile north of the intersection of Hillcrest and Annie Glidden Road. Running west past farmhouses and barns, there is a point where Twombly Road turns into gravel and continues winding through the countryside. It is just past this change in the surface of the road that you will find what we have dubbed the Twombly House. The circumstances surrounding this old house are unclear to say the least, but the story goes something like this. Several years ago, a northern professor lived in this house with his wife and children. The professor was supposedly working with or interested in parapsychology and researched it while living at the house. For reasons no one can seem to explain, the man took his family and abandoned the house, all the possessions it contained, and never returned. What vandals have not removed and what time and weather have not destroyed still remains to this day. The building is visibly unsafe for inhabitants, but is still left standing with a dark secret. So the story goes.
Thank you for joining us this evening on So the Story Goes. We hope we've made you think deeply about some of the issues we've presented today. While some of these stories may be fiction, there's just that slight chance that they might be fact, and that alone is the reason why you should wonder. When you go out at night and you see that shadow just creep through your peripheral vision, when you see the sunset and the clouds rolling over the moon, wonder perhaps, just perhaps, you are experiencing a taste of the supernatural. DeKalb is a town rich in supernatural lore, and we've only touched on a few of the stories this evening. Coming to you from the Northern Television Center, I'm Eric Bowden, or so the story goes.
Well, the only real scary incident I can remember was when we were filming near the Twombly house, and there were three of us outside in front of the house, and we were just, looking at it, thinking about what might have happened there, and while the other two were on the other side of the house filming nearby surroundings, and the three of us had thought that we had heard some sort of light banging wooden sounds, and I thought it was coming from the other two in the back. And it turned out that they had heard the same sounds while they thought we had been making them, and they weren't any normal sounds you'd hear from a car or anything like that. They were definitely coming from the house. It was very weird. It was like an almost sort of scary greeting. Not really warm, but just a supernatural presence letting us know that he was still there.
Another strange thing that happened when we were at the Twombly house, I was in the car with Stu, and after we had finished filming, we went in the car, and Stu noticed that on his rear view, the side mirror of his car, somebody had kissed the mirror, and Mary and I were the only girls there, and neither of us had lipstick or had even kissed Stu's car, so we had no idea who had done that. And Chris and Dan were with us, and we're pretty sure they didn't do it. So we're wondering, if anybody else could have done it, because nobody else was out there in the forest with us, or out there at the Twombly house with us.
I think
One of the main things, really, when we were shooting at the Twombly house, we all heard that banging noise, yet it seemed that nobody from our group made it. I don't know if perhaps there was somebody inside the house, or perhaps a homeless person, maybe even a ghost. But apparently, none of us made the noise, and we all heard it, so that kind of freaked us out. And of course, we couldn't go in and investigate because we weren't allowed to trespass. And there was another time at the cemetery when I walked by a certain tombstone, and it caught my eye at a corner. And so I went, and as I was reading it, I got a really cold chill sort of feeling, and it kind of freaked me out. But the whole experience was really interesting. Shooting, finding out about the folklore, in DeKalb, the ghost, the cemetery, shooting all that stuff was a lot of fun. It was kind of freaky, freaked us all out a couple of times, especially the Elva house too. That was just scary. That was just really scary. And there were some dogs who lived next door to that house who seemed to try to chase us away every time we were filming it. So maybe they were like the spirit watchers or something.
Before the actual filming of our documentary on ghost stories in DeKalb, Stuart and I were out one night researching some of the places, and it was the first time I'd ever seen the Elva house on Elva and Waterman Roads. And it was a dark night, and everything was pretty creepy, but Stu stopped the car on the corner to show me the house. And from the way either the headlights were or just our imaginations running away with us, it looked like there was a light on upstairs in the house. And the scary thing was that we came back from the almost opposite direction and stopped at the house again, and it looked like there was a light up in the same room. So that was probably the creepiest experience I had in the whole filming process.
Well, during our pre-production, like Joe said, we had taken a trip out to some of these sites, and we'd gone out to North Clinton Cemetery in Waterman, and I'd been out there before and seen, the eye on the tombstone, and I just had realized what I thought I had figured out the phenomena to be was just the reflection of your headlights at night. And so I had some people with me, and I was just like, I shut off my headlights and assumed that the light would disappear. And when I shut off my headlights, it was still there, and I started, the car just kind of crawled past it, and the eye just followed me around the tombstone. And I thought maybe it could be the moon, and there was no moon that night, so it's like bizarre.
So we're at Elmwood Cemetery, and we had heard the story about this guy this guy haunts it. An old guy walks his dogs every evening, or on the evenings, and we were there, near dusk, and there was a lot of people in the cemetery actually, but there was this older gentleman walking a dog, and I thought, wow, wouldn't it be cool if I just got this shot, and we could say, if we really wanted to. We wouldn't though. About, we saw the ghost. Well, I pull out the camera, I take my shot, and I start following him. And as he passed between me and him, there was this big, big grave. And as he passed by it, I stopped my shot, waited for him to get ahead of me, and then started the shot off again at that big grave, so it, make it look like he disappeared behind the grave. Well, I got back to the studios to log my footage, and I had the shot of the pan where it stopped at the big grave and then started up again, but there was nobody walking their dog, and that was just really weird.
Well, when I was getting ready to get into my witch costume on Halloween, and then I went upstairs to get my clothes up in the attic, which of course, and then I saw a real ghost.
You have real ghosts in your house?
Yes.
Has it been there long?
I don't know how many years, but it's been there since I think when I was born.
Really? Has it ever, have you ever seen it other than that?
Yeah, every Halloween, but sometimes I don't see it, which sometimes he sneaks up on me. Last Halloween, I was like a guy with a sword to scare people off, which I scared tons of people.
Do you know, do you believe in ghosts?
Yes.
You ghosts are real, huh?
Yes. Which then I decided to be like a vampire, so nobody else would recognize me. So I did all the paint stuff and painted myself and looked like a real vampire. When I looked in the mirror, I got so scared that I ran downstairs and out the door, and I forget. Of course, I had my trick-or-treat bag, and then, of course, I went trick-or-treating.